welcome back to a brand new Player 2 review discussion. My name is Paul James. Today I'm joined by our resident expert on all things moving out, overcooked, camped out, that whole subgenre. Buddy Watson is your go-to expert and he's here to talk about it. So how's things, mate?
I'm good, how are you?
Very well. We've discussed this in messages privately. We promise you haven't been shoehorned into this sort of thing, but obviously you picked up a few of these sort of games over the course of the last few years and you're pretty damn good at them, so...
Yeah, thank you. I love Overcooked, and obviously we recently played Australia's Camped Out as well, and love all the SMG games like Death Squared and obviously Moving Out 1, so it's good to play Moving Out 2. I feel like I definitely have been pigeonholed in that same screen multiplayer hole, but if that's a big pigeonholed into that and typecast, I'll take it, because I love those games and I love what they kind of ensue and bring on.
Yeah, they're real good, and as I said, you're real good at them, so it's going to be great to kind of pick your mind about it. We've spent a bit of time playing in the game in co-op over the course of the last week or so. You've gone through, and just for context for everyone, you've gone and platinumed the game, so you absolutely smashed this one out of the park. So I guess let's go top level, and then we'll start to get into the more granular aspects of the game. What are you thinking?
Very impressed, actually, and I was super impressed with number one, so out of the gate, I really enjoyed number one.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. But with this, and then moving on to like a kind of what feels like a first-time sequel for SMG, having had Death Squared and the other games there, very impressed. I had high expectations just personally because of these styles of games, and I knew that I was kind of going to like this anyway. It's pretty hard to not like these games for me. It has to be like a real kind of low par to disappoint me. But if anything, my low expectations, or no expectations really, were blown out of the park with how good it was. It feels way more polished than number one. Not that it wasn't polished, but this feels fantastic. First in its look, its presentation as well, and then also the way it feels and the movement when you're moving around in the levels and the physics and everything. We're quite good in number one, but I haven't gone back and played one yet, but it just feels like everything is way smoother and tighter. There's way more level variety. They have like score attack levels now. They have moving in levels as a standard instead of being brought in as DLC for add-ons for specific levels before. So adding it into the normal level instead of just adding to the normal levels like they did in number one, and just the style and the overworld variety of the levels, and kind of this multiverse thing they've got going on gives them a little bit more leeway to kind of do some more zany things in some of those worlds. And of course the big feature is online, which I feel like has been pretty seamless. And there's still have to complete some levels on your own when you're attacking on and playing, like I did with you, like we did with Adam, having to complete them in your own game. But all your saves, like your stars and progress, that kind of stuff carries on. So I didn't feel like that was too much of a deterrent anyway, where some of these games, when they have progressed to the sequels, may have had some of those teething issues before. But I'm very impressed. Really enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah, it very much feels like, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but it really feels like a sequel, and this kind of links to what you were discussing at the very beginning of your point there, where they've had the opportunity to take on board all the feedback and learn from what did and didn't work in the first game, look what did and didn't work in the DLC, and of course observe the scene as well and see what's going on with the Overcooked and the Camped Outs and the Tools Ups and all those different games that have come out over recent years, and kind of see how things have evolved and kind of pass through that, pull the right threads, and they've made a game here that is considerably better than the original. That's no mean feat, because as you said, the first game was a lot of fun. I personally, and you touched on the online, stoked to be able to play it with you, because I mean, my home situation, my wife's not crazy about these sorts of games, and then to not have and also pandemic, little kids, all those meant I didn't really have anyone to play the original with, and so kind of lost that edge, I think, pretty early on, because it was solos just wasn't the ideal way to play it. This, firstly, is a much better solo experience than the original as well, and we've both had opportunities to kind of play the game on our own, but also just thrilled to be able to play it in co-op this time and really see how these games shine, because I've never actually been able... I've been able to consume it via streams and whatnot, but actually hands-on engaged in it, oh my god, it's just so good.
And this is what the games are all about. Like Overcooked 1 didn't have online. The second game, I really feel like they took it up a notch, adding throwing as a mechanic online and the complexity in the levels. And I think like SMG have kind of taken those lessons from that evolution from
Yeah.
Overcooked 1 to 2 and like done the same thing pretty much across the board with everything. So yeah, super impressed. I'm so glad that they gave it another go and not like moved on to another IP, because I really feel a lot of these games like get you kind of footing and then the second one seems to be where it all kind of kicks off. And
Well, that absolutely happened with Overcooked. Not that the original was bad, but like they, as you said, they kind of really took it up a few notches when it came to the sequel there, and things like online, which is exactly what's happened here, made a huge difference. So let's start to kind of get a little bit more in the weeds. There's 50 plus levels in this game. There's as you said, there's a lot more diversity there. What was it? I guess on that gameplay sort of side, what was it that really caught your eye compared to the original? And as you said, it's been a little while, but not long prior to the recording of this, we were playing a few rounds with friends of the show, Max and Betson from the Pop Culturists, and Betson in particular was kind of commenting on like he's been playing the original in the last few days, and really spoke to the way, like just how much the finer that detail is. Not to mention how much better it looks too, but the precision, the different skills and changes that have been applied here, it just works a treat.
Yep. For me, like you still have your, kind of your base neighborhood that you started in Packmore from number one. So you still have like a decent footing to kind of get in, but much more like some of the other levels that are, in the sci-fi world, like Patropolis. They have like a middle folklore more, which is kind of this,
medieval
like
kind of
D&D magic type feel, and then they have Snackmore, which is like a whole dimension made of candy. So with that, like there's, using zip lines, what else is there? Like opening manually sliding doors, going through portals, manually.
Those manual sliding doors, man. Oh my God.
One-way doors, like using kind of like a train around the level, and
yeah, that was cool.
Using that to progress and get things around. So like throwing things on fountains, and obviously the umbrellas from the previous game as well, bouncing obstacles off of that, and just yeeting things across the level. But I feel like there was more of that kind of stuff to do in this, like moving like batteries onto place and powering doors and stuff. There's like a little bit more like problem solving in it, as far as just like go get item, or said item is too heavy, so two people go get it. So I feel like there was like more kind of thinking power to, or strategy in it, specifically if you're chasing some of those high scores as well. So yeah, maybe just like mainly the more complexity, of course, like thinking about those levels, which kind of didn't make it too boring or monotonous, especially because there's like almost twice the amount of levels. So I think they had to do that, but they did it in a really creative and like organic way, and it never kind of felt stale.
Yeah, they changed it up really well. Long. Yeah, they really changed things up really well. Changed the pace, changed the mission structures. They've got, as you've kind of mentioned, the time attack levels. There's a whole range of different things that come along just at the right frequency to change up that pace and ensure that you're not, as you say, kind of stuck in that same monotonous loop for a while. Not that it's necessarily monotonous, because the game, beyond the game design and that component of it, the game's got an awesome tone. There's plenty of humor. It's vibrant in terms of its color palette. Like there's lots of things to engage. But even in terms of that core gameplay loop, they change it up just often enough, and they introduce the right new level types just often enough that you'll never get stuck in that grind for too long.
Yeah, and it's the thing that like the same screen multiplayer games generally have as well. When you get, like, especially when you're playing with the group, you get into like that state of flow where you almost don't communicate, and you kind of mentally just know what each person's doing, and you go in there and kind of execute. And when you get into that with no communication but on the same page thing, that's really good. But if you can get to that state of flow for too long, obviously then it's kind of, you're not really playing the game, right? You're kind of just ticking things off a list. But when you're shaking it up a little bit, firstly, like, okay, we're gonna have to do this or that first, or that that breaks it up, and then you get into that state of flow. That's what I find it like really, really works. Like, you got to break it up, get back to it, break it up, get back to it, break it up. If all the levels were the same, you get in that state of flow too early, and it just becomes stale at the end. So yeah, works a treat.
There is a zen state you can absolutely get in where you just, like, everything's clicking. And hell, even in that Player 2 plays that we record, which people can go check out now on the Player 2 YouTube channel, and we were playing with Ryan and Max. I mean, they even made that observation. I think it was Ryan specifically that said it, like, almost instantly, that and these were some of the more challenging levels too, that the conversation died very quickly at one point, and people just switched into the right mode. Now we eventually kind of switched it all back on with some stupid antics, because you need to create some good Let's Play content here. But but very quickly everyone's kind of identified, okay, what was required, and boom, people are just switching into that mode. Everything's moving around perfectly. You just understood, okay, I need to get this thing here, this thing there, and how do we get it done? And it became really clear, and people just moved into position and did it without speaking, which great testament to the game too, that like it onboards new players like that. They instantly feel like they're that cog in the machine without having to be handheld too much. Now, of course, they both know their way around this game, but or like the I guess the core systems of a game like this, but totally new levels, totally new objectives, and yet it took no time at all before they just toggled straight into it and off they went. So, hats off to SMG in that regard as well.
Yeah, and one thing I want to bring up as well, the change from the bronze, silver, and gold medals, and then having the additional challenges in moving out one, to just having the stars, and the 2 stars be the timing, and then extra stars being the objective.
Yeah,
I kind of like how they've taken away the bronze, the silver, and the gold as like a way of like you didn't achieve as much, whereas they're just
yeah,
all the same kind of level now, the stars, and like getting all the stars in one level. I think that's like a subtle change, but I kind of like the idea about that, especially if you're playing with younger people or family. Kind of,
yeah. It makes them less intimidating.
We only got, yeah, less intimidating. Oh, we only got the bronze time, or like, oh, we got the star. Like, try and push for the next star. So, I think like simplifying it down has made it a lot of like, maybe a little bit not accessible, but maybe less, like you said, less intimidating as well.
No, I mean, look, it's a different type of accessibility, but it absolutely is. Like, it opens the game up to a crowd that, and kind of encourages people to play it longer than perhaps they would have otherwise. Like, it can be a deflating feeling to feel like you've thrown your all at this thing and felt like you've done a pretty good job, and then to get a bronze rating in any sort of game can kind of knock the wind out of your sails a little bit, and in some cases potentially push people away from playing. So to be able to, I guess, tweak that system a little bit to make it instantly more approachable and not necessarily push people away. So, okay, like there's 2 objectives. There's the base time and just completion. There's the pro time, and then, as you say, it's kind of whatever objectives come after that. And they're fun, they're stupid. Some you can kind of pretty naturally get. Others you have to really go hunting and are really quite obscure, and that's a good fun challenge as well. And certainly some that even to this day I still can't quite work out what they were trying to get me to do. I'm sure you're well on your way in some of those cases, but like I'm scratching my head going, how am I supposed to do that? Not even like how do I actually do this thing, but what is it that this very vague thing is trying to get me to do? And I'm going to enjoy kind of trawling through the internet to get some of those answers, and then go and do some of the things that you've been able to brain your way through already.
There's a few that I have I've stuck on. I think I've got like 1 star in each of 2 of the dimensions I'm missing out on, and then the other dimensions I've kind of just like no idea. But I think I'm like got 236 out of 266. So I'm pretty decent.
That's pro level as far as I'm concerned.
Some towards the end I didn't even like try. I was just like speed running to get through the game, and I'm like, I'll go back and get them anyway.
Yeah, clean them up after.
Yeah, there's a few that I'm sure I'm going to be kicking myself once the guides and all that come out.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we've touched on, obviously they are multiplayer games by nature, but it works well solo. We've played 2-player, we've played 3-player, we've played 4-player. We've tried in every kind of permutation that's possible in this game, and it all works really, really well. And there's certainly some levels that I found are better suited to the single player experience, some that are more suited to having right up to 4. There's kind of others that there's kind of the sweet spot where 2 or 3 is actually ideal. It's really kind of fascinating, that balancing, and I'm sure it would have been a challenge for the team at different points. So massive credit to them for kind of making it work. There are some that were almost obvious immediately to us, and that was whether we're playing 2, 3, or 4. That okay, like if I jump out of this objective that I'm trying to get, I can tick that off easy. But when it's 2 of us, because of the weight of different items and those sort of things, became far more possible, achievable for the player. Now, I don't know if I necessarily think that's a good thing or a bad thing at the end of the day. I'd like to think it should be equal for everyone, but it is a very fine line to walk with a game such as this to try and get that balancing just right. But I appreciate the fact that you can look and go, oh yeah, okay, I can do this. If when Buddy and I stop, I can go straight back to this level. Boom, I'm in. Boom, objective tick, go off. And no dramas at all. Which, yeah, I guess it's kind of a backhanded compliment in a way, but it works well. Like you can do it in whatever way suits you best, and that's awesome.
Well, if you're really good and you play on your own and you can get some of the objectives that you can't with other people, it's like a double-edged sword, right? It's like, yeah, cool, I can knock some of this stuff off without other people, but when it comes to games like this, I would always prefer to play with others
and try and work your way through it
at levels and try and work and do it as a team, and make it happen with more players. And what I could go back and do it on my own, because like, it's not as fun without
Yeah, I'm with you.
without a crew. So
The other part of it, and you mentioned kind of accessibility before, are some of the accessibility features that are present in the game as well. There's lots of different ways you can tweak the game to make it more approachable for players, no matter their level of experience or their abilities. And I think they were pretty well balanced as well. Did you mess around with them at all?
I didn't. Basically because I know that in some other games, like tweaking, like touching accessibility, like ruins trophies. So I didn't touch that until I finished the game.
Oh yeah, okay.
And
I didn't even
and
think about
done
that at the
them.
time,
So
but I did try them out. I
you're a
was going
rookie. You're
through
a
it. And,
rookie trophy hunter. Come on,
well,
you
look, to
gotta
be
know
fair,
what to do,
it didn't
right?
didn't affect me. It didn't come back to bite me. But I went and checked them out
No.
for a couple levels, and
Yes.
they're
So
good additions. Like the
I
weightless.
read through the
Yeah.
list and I was like, oh, these would be super handy.
Yeah, in some cases with some of the levels, it really bloats out the amount of time you've got to work with, which is good in some senses. But like, especially if I was playing solo, there was some of those time attack ones where the amount of time they give you is ridiculous. There's one particular level that you and I were messing around with. It was kind of like this slide of and kind of foods coming down, and you had to
Oh
catch them
yeah.
with the thing. Yeah, you know it. I won't spoil it for everyone watching, but that I completed that objective, was well beyond the pro thing, and had 6 minutes left on the clock after. I was like, what do I do? And I put the control down and walked off until the level finished.
Yep.
So like but again, I mean, fantastic for those who are just less experienced, less able. It gives you lots of opportunity to be able to succeed in this game, no matter what. Which
And you can
I
map
think's awesome.
different controller profiles
Yeah, that too.
in the options too, which I thought was pretty cool. Not too many button games let you bind whatever you want and then save it as a profile, so that was cool.
Yeah, and obviously we kind of touched on some of Betson's observations before with the kind of the polish and those sort of things. The game does look really good.
Mm.
Like, it's obviously got its own distinct style, and so it's we're not pushing high end HD realism, that sort of thing. It's got its quirky style and it sticks to it, and it works really well. And I really appreciate what they've done. Those vibrant looks, the designs of the different realms that you go to, provide the team more opportunities to really mess around with the color palette, and kind of throw some really cool visual aesthetics at you. I think they really nailed that, and the music, the score as well. There's the same kind of main theme that we know from the original game, but even the music they've designed for this game is just top shelf. Like, it really adds to that atmosphere and that fun that you're having, whether it's solo or with others.
Yeah. Even though multiverses have ruined movies and the movie landscape, opened up for games and being able to add some variety to your game. So I appreciate what they've done there.
Any other thoughts at all that you wanted to make sure that we expressed through this?
Just overall super impressed. Like I said, it's my style of game anyway, and I don't really have any expectations going into these type of games, but just like playing and really enjoying number one. Just noticing like the work they put into this in like evolving pretty much everything, making everything smoother, look tighter, changing the game mechanics, the variety in the levels, score attack stuff. Yeah, pretty much just tick the box for what you would want in a sequel of this style of game.
Yeah,
And the addition of online play, so people like you can actually get to enjoy and actually know what this kind of experience is about, instead of just like moving out being that default. Okay, that was my experience with it. That's what that game is. Like, no, this is what this game is. This is what these style of games are, and now everybody gets to experience that. And it has crossplay as well, so that was pretty cool too.
Yeah. I'd always kind of gotten close through things like, playing the likes of Camped Out, for example, at show floors, and maybe getting the occasional opportunity with some couch co-op with people, but it was never for sustained periods. So to get to play the game in its very close to its purest form. I mean, I guess the online gameplay is never quite the same as what you're going to get when you've got 2, 3, 4 friends all sitting on the same couch together, but it certainly brings you as close as possible to that, and it works really well. Can't say there was any online issues that we faced at all. I think maybe there was one disconnect along the way, but that could have been one of us for all we know. And it certainly wasn't regular. It was a one-off as far as I recall. So massive credit to the team there. They've nailed that side of things as well. Moving Out 2 it's awesome. It's what I've been kind of hoping that these experiences would be when I got to play them kind of the way they were intended, and I'm thrilled that I finally got to check it out and get to play it with you after all these years of kind of seeing and hearing about your prowess with these things. I got to be witness first person and enjoy it. It was awesome, mate.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a run through Overcooked now that you've played. You got the itch.
Oh yeah, we'll have to go over Overcooked 2, and yeah, oh mate, here we go. The can of worms has been cracked wide open. I'm keen, and I get to do it with a pro. Well, mate, thanks very much for coming on and discussing the game, and of course the review that'll be live on the Player 2 website for people to check out as well. Buddy's making his debut with us, and really awesome to have him on board. So go check out Buddy's written review there as well. Thanks so much for coming on board, mate.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Make sure to check out Buddy on socials, Buddy Watson 12 on Twitter, and I'm sure a million other platforms that are continuing to sprout up these days. Keep your eyes out for that. Of course, check out Buddy's review there. Paul James Games for myself. The website's Player2AU. Visit the website, player2.net.au, for Buddy's review and a whole bunch more. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out all the podcasts. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks again, Team 17, for providing codes, and SMG for being just geniuses at making games like this. But otherwise, thanks for hanging out, mate. It was awesome to chat.
All right, talk soon.
And everyone, thanks for visiting. We'll see you next time.